Executive order signed by President Trump last month.
Right now, postal services worldwide are halting shipments to the United States.
Goods coming in from abroad less than $800 will be slapped with country-specific tariff rates starting Friday.
Donald Trump thought he had found a clever way to strike back at global trade. A tariff buried not in steel, not in cars, but in something most Americans never think about: the postal system. That's right. Packages, letters, e-commerce shipments flowing across borders every single day. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to Traveling Vibes. Because this isn't just about headlines, it's about the hidden battles shaping your wallet, your job, and your future. At first glance, it seemed brilliant. If cheap goods from abroad were undercutting American manufacturers, why not raise the cost of delivering them? Why not weaponize the mailbox? For Trump, it was a chance to hit not just Canada, but China, Europe, and anyone else he saw as taking advantage of America. But here's the problem. The global postal system isn't a free-for-all. It's a carefully balanced agreement called the Universal Postal Union. For over a century, countries have worked together to keep mail flowing across borders. Tariffs disrupt that balance. And when Trump tried to twist it for leverage, he discovered something he didn't expect. America needs that system just as much, if not more, than anyone else. Think about it. Every time an American company sells to Canadian customers online, every time a small business in Ohio ships products north, every time a family in Michigan sends care packages to relatives across the border, that depends on affordable postal rates. Tariffs don't just punish foreign sellers. They punish your neighbor running an Etsy shop, your cousin selling car parts, your community's small businesses trying to expand. Trump's gamble was supposed to squeeze Canada, but Canada stood firm. Ottawa refused to fold, even as Washington pushed. Instead, Canadian leaders doubled down on their global alliances, signaling to Europe and Asia, "We'll keep the mail moving with or without America." And suddenly, Trump's postal tariff wasn't a sign of strength, it was a sign of isolation. And then came the backfire. American consumers started noticing higher costs for imported goods. Delivery times dragged. Small retailers felt the crunch as shipping bills exploded. What was sold as a blow against unfair trade quickly became a tax on American shoppers. Meanwhile, Canada played the role of the steady hand. Calm, consistent, reminding the world that trade wars don't scare them. And behind the scenes, once again, Mark Carney and other Canadian strategists worked to reassure markets that Canada would adapt, find workarounds, and keep its economy moving. The contrast could not have been sharper. Washington shouting, Ottawa stabilizing. And it didn't stop there. The fallout hit America's own companies. Major online retailers, logistics firms, and even the U.S. Postal Service itself lobbied against Trump's move. Because here's the reality. Disrupting global mail doesn't just raise costs abroad, it raises costs at home. And when businesses start losing money, they stop hiring, they cut shifts, they freeze wages. This is the hidden tax of tariffs. Whether on steel, aluminum, or postal deliveries, the cost doesn't vanish into thin air. It shows up in your shopping cart, on your credit card bill, and in the balance sheets of companies that employ millions of Americans. Canada knew this. That's why it didn't panic. Instead, it positioned itself as a reliable partner to the rest of the world. While Trump tried to fracture the system, Canada stood as the defender of order. Global chaos on one side, quiet strength on the other. The result? America looked erratic. Canada looked stable. Investors noticed. Allies noticed. And consumers, on both sides of the border, paid the price for Washington's gamble. And here's the irony. Trump thought he was defending American jobs, but the postal tariff ended up squeezing the very people he claimed to protect: small businesses, exporters, and ordinary families. Canada, by holding firm, sent a clear message. You can shake the system, but you can't break us. History will look back at this moment not as a triumph of America first, but as a cautionary tale of what happens when politics collides with economics. Because tariffs sound strong on stage, but in reality, they're fragile. They crack under the weight of global interdependence. And once again, Canada proved that patience beats bluster, that alliances beat isolation, that steady leadership beats chaos. Trump's postal tariff was supposed to be a weapon. Instead, it blew up in his face. And Canada, standing strong amid global turmoil, reminded the world that even the loudest voice can be outplayed by quiet resolve. So here's the takeaway. Trade wars don't create winners. They create confusion, higher costs, and broken promises. And when America's leaders gamble with systems as essential as global mail, the ones who pay aren't politicians, they're you. But this story runs deeper than just tariffs and politics. To really understand why Trump's postal tariff backfired, we have to ask, what is the mail, really? It's not just letters and packages, it's the invisible highway of the modern economy. Every Amazon order, every Etsy shipment, every small business box shipped across borders, those are the lifelines of Middle America. And by tampering with that system, Trump didn't just raise costs. He shook the foundation of how ordinary Americans connect to the world. Consider this. The Universal Postal Union, founded in 1874, was created to ensure that no matter where you lived, you could send a letter across the globe at a predictable rate. Over a century later, e-commerce turned that old system into the backbone of modern trade. Small businesses in Texas can sell to customers in Toronto. A jewelry maker in Montreal can reach buyers in Chicago. The system wasn't glamorous, but it was fair. When Trump slapped tariffs on postal deliveries, he didn't just disrupt trade with Canada. He sent shockwaves through the entire system. Countries asked, if America can weaponize the mail, what's next? And suddenly, America looked less like the leader of the global system, and more like the wildcard threatening to burn it down. Meanwhile, Canada seized the moment. Ottawa positioned itself as a defender of order, a nation that stood for predictability in a chaotic world. The message was subtle but powerful. If America won't lead, Canada will stand strong, and markets responded. Investors looking for stability saw Canada as the steady hand in a storm. Now imagine the lives touched by this drama. A small-town shop in Ohio, relying on affordable cross-border shipping, suddenly faces bills it can't handle. A young entrepreneur in Wisconsin, selling handmade crafts to Canadian customers, watches orders vanish as shipping rates double. These aren't faceless statistics. They're real people, losing real opportunities because of a political gamble. And the irony? Many of these people were Trump's own supporters. Voters who believed tariffs would protect them instead saw their businesses punished. It's the cruel twist of trade wars. The pain rarely lands where politicians promise it will. It lands at home. But Canada's strength wasn't just economic, it was psychological. In moments of global chaos, strength isn't about who yells loudest. It's about who stays calm. And Canada's calmness, its refusal to bend, its quiet confidence, stood in sharp contrast to Washington's volatility. That contrast mattered. It reshaped how allies saw North America, Europe, Asia, even developing nations. Many began to wonder, if America is willing to break the rules of something as basic as global mail, can it still be trusted? Canada, by contrast, became the reliable partner, the country you could count on when things got messy. If this breakdown gave you clarity, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Traveling Vibes. Because the next headline about trade or tariffs won't just be about politics, it will be about you. And here, we'll keep showing you the hidden costs and deeper truths that others ignore.